at your end in the week number 11, part 1. We will be discussing about power and politics in organization. In the last lecture, if you remember, we have given a touch to the power, and we studied some types of power, but in a very nutshell. In very brief, we studied that. In today's lecture, we will be discussing it in very detail about power, its sources, types, bases, and what are the importance of power. Generally, power is the ability to cause or prevent an action, make things happen. Uh, the freedom or the judging to act or not to act. Uh, According to a scholar by the name of Gangsley Davis, he says that power is or it is as the determination of the behavior of others following one's own ends or needs. According to another scholar, he says that by power we mean the extent to which persons or groups can limit or regulate the alternative courses of actions open to other personal groups with or without their consent. Power is a complex strategic situation in a given society or in a social setting. So we say that power and politics have been very much described in our society as dirty words because people do not like the word power and they do not like the word politics because they have been so muchly embarrassed and embarrassing words. Such words have been very embarrassing in our society, especially in our society, not in others, may not be. People who have power uh, they deny it, and people who want it try not to look like they are seeking it, and those who are good at getting it are secretive about how they do so. So we say that power, the definition in simple words can be said like this: that a capacity that A has to influence the behavior of B so that B acts in according with A's wishes. Uh, the greater B's dependence on A, the greater is A's power in the relationship. When there is A's power and dependence on B, so of course there will be more power given to him. It means that dependence in return is based on alternatives that B perceives, and the importance that B places on the alternative or alternatives that A controls. Uh, a person can have power over you only if he or she controls something you desire. When you like something, when you desire and demand something, and you know that he or she has that thing, so it means he has the power either to give you or not to give you. uh, Power is not uniformly distributed at all levels in the organizations. However, it is confined to certain departments or groups of people depending on the level of responsibility uh, um, and the seniority that is at that level. So, the motive of assigning power to this level is to streamline the underlying activities by designing work structures, policies, circulars, and their successful implementation and execution for the success of the organization. So, Dependency, what is dependency? B is relationship to A when A possesses something that B requires. I told you, when you require something, you desire something, and A has that. So A, you are dependent on him. You are dependent on him. That is called dependency, because he controls you. He controls you over things. Uh, Now, uh, power may exist or may not exist, and may that be used or not. It might exist in the organization, but it might not be used. It is therefore a capacity or a potential. In the definition, we said that it is A's capacity. So it is therefore a capacity or a potential that maybe a person use it or may not use it. One can have power, but may not impose it. In our definition, a potential means that need to be actualized to be effective, and a dependency relationship. So, therefore, it is called capacity, or we call it potential. So, the importance. Now we come to the importance of power. What is the importance of power in the organization? There are three main importances of power that can be influence, that can be power, that could be politics. What does influence means? Influence means actions that either directly or indirectly cause a change in behavior or attitude of another individual or group. It is either directly or indirectly cause a change in the behavior of a person or a group. The power means the ability of one person or group in an organization to influence other people to bring about desired outcomes. While politics, then, they are activities to acquire, they are activities to develop, they are activities to use power and other resources to obtain a preferred outcome or result. Why power in politics? To direct and control behavior of organization members to achieve organizational goals. Because we are studying OB, organizational behavior, so we will link our power and politics to OB, and that is to direct and control behavior of organizational members in order to achieve the organizational goals. Now, we come to the definition is like some parts of politics and uh, leadership. Now, what will be the contrast of leadership and power? So, one difference relates to goal opportunity, and one difference relates to goal compatibility. Uh, Power does not require goal compatibility, merely dependence does. So, on the other hand, leadership uh, requires some congruence between the goal of the leader and those being led by the leader. The second difference relates to the direction of influence. Leadership focuses on downward influence on one's subordinates. It minimizes the importance of lateral and upward pattern of structure, while power does not do it. Another difference deals with research emphasis. Leadership research, for the most part, it emphasizes on style. It seeks answer to such questions like how supported should a leader be, how much decision making should be shared with subordinates. Uh, in contrast, the research on power has tended to encompass a broader area and focus on tactics for gaining the compliance. Uh, it has gone beyond the individual as exerciser, because power can be used by groups as well as by individuals to control other individuals or groups. So there were four differences we discussed in leadership research focus. Uh, uh, Now we will come to basis of power. Where does power come from, and what is that it gives individual or group influence over others? We answer these questions by dividing the basis or the sources of power into two bases, or we can call it sources of power, into two general groupings, and that can be formal and informal groups, or we call it formal and personal uh, uh, powers, and then breaking them into more specific categories that will be coercive reward. So firstly we come to formal power. Formal power is based on an individual's position in an organization. Formal power can come from the ability to coerce or reward, or it can come from formal authority. There are three types of subcategories of formal power, and they are coercive power, reward power, and legitimate power. The coercive power uh, base is defined by French and Raven. He's a scholar, a researcher by the name of French and Raven. Uh, it is dependent on, it is based on or dependent on fear. One reacts to this power out of fear of the negative results that might occur if one failed to comply to that activity. It relies on the application or the threat of application or the physical sanctions, as the infliction of pain, the generation of frustration through restrictions of movement, or the controlling by force or basic physiological or safety needs. Uh, uh, in the organizational level, if A has coercive power over B, if A can dismiss, suspend, or demote B, assume that B values his or her job. On the other hand, or similarly, if A can uh, assign B work activities that B finds unpleasant, or treat B in a manner that B finds embarrassing, so A possesses a coercive power over B. Coercive power can also come from withholding key information. People in organization who have data or knowledge that others need can make those others dependent on them. This is what uh, coercive power is. Now, the second type of power, informal power or a formal basis, is reward power. What is reward power? So, reward power means the opposite of coercive power. People comply with the wishes or the directives of another because doing so produces positive benefits. Therefore, one who can distribute rewards that others view as valuable will have power over others. These rewards can be either financial, such as controlling pay rates, raises, bonuses, and other, or they can be non-financial, like recognition, promotions, interesting work assignments, friendly colleagues, and preferred work shifts or sales territories. Uh, Coercive power and reward power are actually counterparts of each other. If you can remove something of positive value from another, or inflict something or of negative value, you have coercive power over that person. If you can give someone something of positive value or remove something of negative value, you have reward power over that person. So the third type of power, informal, is legitimate power. Uh, Informal groups and organizations, probably the most frequent access to one or more of power bases is one's structural position. There are some structures over that. So that is called legitimate power. It represents the formal authority to control and use organizational resources. Position of authority include coercive and reward powers. Legitimate power, however, is broader than the power to coerce and reward. Specifically, it includes acceptance by members in an organization of the authority of a position. When school principal, bank presidents, or army captains speak, uh, uh, assuming that their directives are viewed to be within the authority of their positions. So, teachers, tellers, and first lieutenants listen and usually comply to them. So, these are called legitimate power. Now, we come to the personal power or informal power. Um, you don't have to have a formal position in an organization to have power. Many of the most competent and productive chip designers in Intel is computer based. If you remembered Intel, um, they they for instance, they have power, but they are not managers and have no formal power. What they have is personal power, power that comes from an individual's unique characteristics. So, personal power means that those power that come from someone's unique or someone's special qualities or characteristics. In this, there are two types of powers, and they can be expert power and referent power. Expert power is influence uh, wielded as a result of expertise, special skills, or knowledge. Expertise has become one of the most powerful sources of influence as the world has become more technologically oriented in today's business world. As jobs become more specialized, we become increasingly dependent on experts to achieve goals. It's generally accepted that physicians have expertise and hence expert power. Most of us follow the advice that our doctors give us, but it is also important to recognize that computer specialists, tax accountants, economists, industrial psychologists, and other specialists are able to wield power as a result of their expertise. Anyone can have impact on you, affect you, influence you if they have expertises, if they have some special skills that you require and you need them. Lastly, a referent power. A referent power is based on identification with a person who has desirable resources or personal traits or qualities. For example, if I like, respect, and admire you, you can exercise power over me because I want to please you. Uh, Referent power develops out of admiration of another and a desire to be like that person. It helps explain, for example, why celebrities are paid millions of dollars to endorse products in commercials in advertisements. Uh, Market research shows that people such as Amitabh Bachchan, Sachin Tendulkar have the power to influence your choice of chocolates and credit cards. If you remember, the same advertisement will be displayed or showed or exhibited by another person. But if Amitabh Bachchan does it, or maybe Sachin Tendulkar does it, so they have the power to influence you to buy that product. One of the ways in which individuals acquire referent power is through charisma. Some people have referent power who, while not in some formal positions, leadership positions exactly, they are able to exert influence over others because of their charisma, their dynamism, their likability, and emotional effects on us. So we have here given a chart. If board of trustees, there is a chart given that president and then vice president, and after vice president then we have department managers like finance, admin, medicine, nursing, in the middle managers we have, and first line managers. Look, everyone, the first person, the board of trustees have more power than the president, and the vice president have more power than middle managers, and the middle managers have most power than first line managers, and then service providers are the people who are the implementers. If in organization power is used, what will be the responses of the employees? So there can be most of the time in our society, power is used very in a wrong manner, in not a good, in a right way. So we people may react negatively. People may have decreased trust in the organization if used power. If I mean that if they use it negatively, if they use it wrongly, अगर यकس पावर wrongly استعمال کنه، اختیارات خود زور خود غلط استعمال کنه، of course then trust will be decreased. اعتبار دی که می باشه او کم می باشه، satisfaction کم می زیاد کم می باشه، conflict زیاد arise می باشه، مورالی employees که از کارمندا که است کم می شود و turnover زیاد می باشه، employees زیاد می رو از organization زیاد نمیمانه که اینجا باشه، نپاتی کیږي، هغوی غواړي چې خپله لاړ شي او organization پرېږدي، organization را اعلان کنه. So if power is wrongly used, then these consequences can occur. Now one another can be decision making. They can undermine future operations, and they can undermine the future decision making which will be used in the organization. So these were the responses of employees if power was used. It means wrongly. البته wrongly استعمال شي، که خی استعمال شي legitimate power استعمال شي، reward power استعمال شي، referent power استعمال شي. So it's good. There will be with the vice versa of these 5-6 components. If they are wrongly used, then of course then it will create problems. Now dependency. In our first definition we said that there is a co-relationship between power and dependency. If someone is dependent over you, you have the power to control him. So what is dependency? And it is the key to power. When someone is not dependent over you, you cannot control him, you cannot use power over him. We before said that the greater B's dependency on A, the greater the power has over B. When you possess anything that others require but that you alone control, you make them dependent on you, and therefore you gain power over them. Dependency is then inversely proportional to the alternative sources of supply. For example, if something is plentiful, possession of it will not increase your power. If there are many things available, then there is no need of your power, because something is available in a bountiful. So, for example, if everyone is intelligent, then intelligence gives no special advantage for your power. Similarly, among the super rich people, money is no longer power, but we have a saying, in also in Pashto we say "Paranduki the Yostergi bina day." So in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. For example, if you create a monopoly by controlling information or prestige or anything that others crave, they become dependent on you. So when they become dependent on you, you can use power over them. What creates dependency? Dependency is increased when and the resources you control is important, they are scarce, and they are non-substitutable. If the resources you control are important to you, they are scarce, they are less, they are non-substitutable, they are not substitutable. So then it creates dependency. Uh, uh, Importance, we come to first importance. Um, Important means that if somebody or if nobody wants what you have, it's not going to create dependency. Someone doesn't want some things, and there is no dependency over you because they don't need it. To create dependency, the thing you control must be perceived as being important for him or her or for other person. Uh, Organization, for example, actively seek to avoid uncertainty. We should therefore expect that the individuals or groups who can absorb an organization's uncertainty will be perceived as controlling and important resource. Uh, Scarcity then means that if something is plentiful, possession of it will not increase your power. Uh, a resource needs to be perceived as scarce or as less to create dependency. This can help explain how low-ranking members in an organization who have important knowledge not available to high-ranking members gain power over the high-ranking members. So position of scarce resource means in the case of importance of knowledge makes the high-ranking member of dependent on the low-ranking member. This is also helps to make sense out of behaviors of low-ranking members that otherwise might seem illogical, such as destroying the procedure manuals that describe how a job is done, refusing to train people in their jobs, or even to show others exactly what they do. They can creating specialized language and terminology that inhibit others from understanding their jobs, or operating in a secrecy, so an activity will appear more complex and difficult than operating. So the scarcity dependency relationship can further be seen in the power of occupational categories. Individuals in occupations in which the supply of personnel is lower relative to demand can negotiate compensation and benefits packages that are far more attractive than can those in occupations for which their age uh, is abundance of candidates. For example, college administrators have no problems today finding English instructors. The market for network systems or analyst in contrast is extremely tight, firm, with the demand high and the supply is limited for them. So the third one is non-substitutability. Uh, the fewer viable substitutes for a resource, the more power and control over that resource that you provide. Uh, for example, higher education can provide an excellent example. At universities in which there are strong pressures for the faculty to publish, we can say that a department head's power over faculty members is inversely related to the members' publication record. The more recognition the faculty member receives through publication, the more mobile he or she is. That is because other universities want faculty who are highly published and visible. There is an increased demand for that person's services because he has publications. Uh, uh, so non-substitutability means that you cannot substitute that person because he has much expertise and much skills in that. Uh, the next that power tactics. What power tactics do people use to translate power bases into specific actions? That is, what options do individuals have for influencing their bosses, their co-workers, their colleagues, their employees? And are some of these options more effective than others or not? So we will be studying here seven tactical dimensions of uh, strategies in tactics for power, and they can be legitimacy, they can be rational persuasion, they can be inspirational appeals, they can be consultation, they can be exchange, they can be personal appeals, they can be pressure, they can be uh, coalitions. But some others have made it other names. For example, bargaining. Bargaining means use of negotiations through the exchange of benefits or favors. Assertiveness means use of direct and forceful approach, such as demanding compliance with requests, repeating reminders, ordering individuals to do what is asked, and pointing out that rules requires. Uh, Next is higher authority. A higher authority means gaining the support of higher levels in the organization to back up requests. Sanctions means use of organizationally derived rewards and punishments, such as preventing or promising a salary increase, threatening to give an unsatisfactory performance evaluation, or withholding a promotion. So these were the seven dimensions of tactical power, using tactics in their reasoning. Then with friendliness, reason means use of facts and data to make logical or rational presentations of ideas, while friendliness means use of flattery, creation of goodwill, acting humble and being friendly prior to making a request. Coalition means getting the support of other people in the organization. Uh, so coalition also means enlisting the aid of other people to persuade the target, or using the support of others as a reason for uh, the target to agree by the other person. So this was all about power in this lecture. In the coming lecture, we will be talking about using politics in the organization. So if you have got any sort of questions, suggestions, you can comment, or you can also write to me and on LMS or WhatsApp. Thank you very much. Stay blessed and have a good time.